Hello and welcome back to my review of Black Clover, chapter 366, titled The Leading Man. We have a short yet amazing chapter this week, guys. We open this chapter with Ryu using Tengetsu, and this is while Asta is still in the Land of the Sun. He tells Asta that the bulls are about to arrive. Yosuga and Ichika open the door, Yosuga asking if Asta is about to head out. Asta thanks everyone for everything that they have done for him, and we see the portal start to form behind Asta. Finral asks what Asta's doing so far away, but he is here to pick him up. Now, we also see Vanessa's kitty with him, and I think this makes sense as no matter what, the threat of fate should be with Finral to ensure that he is able to get Asta and bring him back. Ryu asks Finral if he can take one more person. Finral says that he can, and then Ryu points to Ichika, asking them to take her too, as she is one of their most skilled fighters. Ichika obviously objects, saying that she can't possibly leave Ryu's side. Ryu replies back, saying that if Lucius isn't stopped, it will be the end for them anyways. Yosuga joins in the conversation here, saying, besides, Asta worked best with her during training, and that he will still be there to protect the land of the sun. Ryu tells Ichika to go see Yami, but to also come back alive. Ryu then says that the fate of the world depends on them. Asta and Ichika grab Finral's hand and jump through the portal. Finral and Ichika actually arrive after Asta is already walking towards Damnatio, and we see everyone is covered in blood and laid out around the landscape. Finral kneels down to help Nero as Asta continues forward. Asta's body has the line shadow effect on it, which I really like, and his eyes are not visible, they're completely covered by shadows. Damnatio holds up his sword, saying, so you managed to arrive, but the rest have fallen. You are too late. Asta summons the Demon Destroyer sword. He replies, saying, maybe so, but I can still save everyone. He tells Finral to get behind him, that he will do this all himself. All the while, we only see Asta's back or his face being completely covered in shadows. Then, once we do see Asta's face, Asta declares that he will never lose again, and this is a look of determination and subtle rage. Damnatio says to himself that Asta was born without magic, and as a result, using scale magic is meaningless. He then proclaims to Asta that with atmosphere magic from Lucius Sama, he shall judge him just as well. We then see this bubble form around Asta. Now, it isn't a solid black sphere. The best way I can describe it is it seems similar to a Rorschach, and especially if you've seen the Watchmen movie, how Rorschach's mask changes and moves around, it's very similar to that. And Asta is quite clearly unaffected by atmosphere magic. Damnatio has a look of shock on his face as he thinks to himself that the spell is being cancelled and that Asta's anti magic is evolving. Finral comments on how Asta is using anti magic much more freely now. And Asta, still with a look of rage and maybe even irritation on his face, says, your magic is invincible, huh? Looks like it's got pretty bad compatibility with me. Damnatio thinks to himself that he is a paladin, so his power is immense. He can't lose. He still has the sword, so he can still take Asta's physical, straightforward attacks. And this is where Damnatio quite clearly messes up. He thinks to himself that there is no way he can lose. He says to Asta that he is the sinner who would dare bring unrest to the peace brought forth by Lucius. face justice, and fall. Asta pulls out his demon slasher sword and asks Damnatio what exactly is peaceful or just about what they're doing. Asta then lunges at Damnatio. He activates Zeten and slashes through Damnatio's torso, cutting off one of his angelic wings and breaking the sword in half. End of chapter. And we're on break next week. Now, this final panel of Asta defeating Damnatio is very similar to when Asta used Black Meteorite against, I believe, Ladros in the Witch Queen or the Witch arc where the Diamond King invaded. And that was also when Asta used his Devil for the first time. Now, something important to note here with Asta is he just defeated one of Lucius's strongest paladins that was amplified by a supreme devil in base form. He didn't use Devil Union or even the partial Devil Union that we saw him use at the start of the final arc and in the Land of the Sun. Nothing. This is just base Asta one-shotting Damnatio. Now for some small discussion here. I am a little bummed out that the Ryuzen 7 will not be joining Asta. I really wanted to see more of them because I really do like some of these characters. However, Ichika does go with Asta, and this absolutely makes the most sense. It'd honestly be kind of weird if she didn't show up, as we really do need to see Ichika and Yami meet again. Now, Yosuga also mentions that Ichika had the best compatibility with Asta, or, they worked the best together. So I think this is definitely setting the groundwork for Ichika and Asta having some sort of plan or combo move that they can use together that they might use against Lucius. And really, ever since Ichika was introduced into the final arc, I've definitely held the belief that Ichika and Yami will have a really big team up moment together. But we'll just have to wait and see on those. Now, I mentioned yet again, the Black Bulls have been torn to pieces. This is both figuratively and kind of literally with Gauche. I'm just not sure what more they can do. They are all laid out in pools of blood across the battlefield. If this really is the end of their involvement in the final arc, quite honestly, I will be a little bit disappointed. However, I can't deny that they went out with an absolute bang, as these three chapters, being 364, 365, and 366, are by far and away my favorite chapters of the final arc, no question. Artistically, I really love the expressions on Asta's face after he arrives in the Witch's Forest, and there are just some really great panels of Asta in this chapter, especially his facial expressions, and that final panel is fantastic as well. Now, Asta's claim that he will never lose again. In my opinion, this claim seems pretty likely. I really don't see him losing to anyone at this point. And, well, I do think that the battle against Lucius will be a hard fought one, but we even saw, at the start of the final arc, Lucius's number one goal was to get rid of Asta. 7 days before this whole Judgment Day thing, his priority number one was to get rid of Asta. And now Asta's back, and I do think that Asta is going to have a very hard fought battle against Lucius, but I definitely don't think that Asta's going to lose. Now, Asta's new spell with his Demon Destroyer Blade is very interesting. He definitely seems to be immune to any type of magic while inside of this bubble he creates around himself. And I do wonder, how exactly this spell works, because I do believe Demon Destroyer works on curses. And also, it's entirely possible that he could expand the range of this bubble to include other people. We'll just have to wait and see what more he does with this spell, or even any other new Zeten spells or just anti-magic spells that he has after training for these 7 days. Now, like I said last week, I thought this was going to be an easy fight for Asta, and it really was. This was an absolute breeze. You could barely even call it a fight. He just instantaneously annihilated Damnatio, and it was very satisfying to see after these past few chapters. Honestly, these past three chapters have just been unbelievably fantastic, as well as sad and hype, and they really are just monumental to the Black Clover story. Especially, Asta returning during the final arc. This is just one of those fantastic, memorable Black Clover moments. I love this chapter as well as the two that have come before it. And that's going to be all from me today. I'll see you guys in the next Black Clover video. Bye, guys.